start the recording. And today, we're gonna be playing through episode 4 of Sally Face. So yeah. How you guys been? How's your like weekend been? Oh yeah, I was just on looking through Instagram actually, and you know how I think I may have mentioned this on Thursday. But you know how last week I mentioned how my sister deleted her Instagram account. So apparently she didn't delete her Instagram account. But basically, for some reason, I think my Instagram is glitched because it, like, when I searched it up last time, it showed it as deleted, but then ever since then, it's been since then she's been posting on her story and stuff, and then like when I initially go on to click on her profile and stuff, and when she like her posts come up in my feed, it shows like a blank profile picture, but then when I actually go into her profile, it's just her normal actual profile picture, and she still like posts stories and stuff. So like I don't know what's going on with Instagram, and I think it's only happening, or at least I only notice it's happening with my sister's account. Like no one else, is just my sister's. So I don't know what's going on with let me see. Maybe it's just a glitch on my main account. Let me see. Let me check my private account. Let me see. Let me search my sister. Okay, yeah, it's coming up. It's a glitch that's coming up on my second account as well. On my that's coming up on my private account as well. So I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on. And my headphones being dicks again. So yeah. Okay, this weekend. Let's work backwards. Today I made some just some notes to start my fun. One of my assignments, just to, even though it's not due for another 2 months, I might as well get it started now. So yeah, I might just do the introduction sometime next week. So yeah. And then on Saturday, yesterday, I worked. It was actually probably the smoothest shift I ever had. I was working with my supervisor, who I haven't worked with for a while. Most of the time recently, I've been working with either my manager or mainly my manager. Sometimes my assistant manager, but mainly my manager. But like ever since Christmas, I haven't worked with my supervisor up until now. I think I might have worked for like once last month, but yeah. But yeah, it was a pretty smooth shift. It was a pretty smooth shift. So yeah. It was like, for like probably half of my shift, it was just me and her. Cause for like the first hour of my shift, it was me, her, and then one of my newer co-workers. And then my newer co-worker was just doing the opening shift. So she left like at midday, and then like an hour before my shift ended, like two of my other co-workers came in because they were to do the like closing shift. So yeah, that was a really smooth shift. So yeah. Nothing too eventful happened yesterday. I mean, I had a few customers who asked me to check the prices of like some items, but then they were like, no, I'm not having that. So yeah. But that's like normal. That's not like groundbreaking story time news. So yeah. So yeah. And then I got home. I played on my Switch for a bit, and then me and my mum watched the new Casualty episode. I love Casualty. This episode stressed me out though. Okay, spoilers for Casualty if you have not seen it. Let me just have a drink first, because I had a biscuit earlier, and I like choked on it a bit, so I think I was still like a bit of crumbs at the back of my mouth, which is not fun at all. But yeah, we watched the new Casualty episode. So again, spoilers for Casualty, but this episode made me hate Byron. I know that's his last name. I don't know what Flynn Byron. I think that's his name, Flynn. This episode made me hate Flynn Byron more. This is my least favorite character at the moment. And just made me kind of dislike Matty. Like I don't hate him as much as I don't dislike him as much as I hate Flynn. But like he's like out of the two residents, I definitely like him more. You know what I'm saying? So okay, basically the basic premise of this episode is kind of, it's one of those classic like the two newer characters are separated off from the characters that have been there a while. So Kim and Matty, our two residents, they're doing like a training situation with someone from the CDC or someone who works with like contagious diseases and like more serious diseases such as like Ebola and stuff like that. So they're going through like a training protocol of like how to deal with like these more serious diseases, because you know they can't be trained like first day like an outbreak happens. You know what I'm saying? So they're going through this training protocol while everyone else is just helping out. Like, I don't think the B plot of the episode, like the training montage is the training protocol is very much the A plot of the episode. The B plot is just like it was just following around the other doctors around the ED. I don't think it had a very like set storyline. Like we had like the B plot, I guess, following the doctors around the ED, and then I guess like kind of I guess like the C plot. I guess the C plot was just like, I don't know if it was the B plot or the C plot, but it was following around like Faith's relationship with Ian. Now that Ian knows that Faith is pregnant, right? Which this episode also made me kind of dislike Ian, even though I do love Ian. What the fuck were you on? Yeah, but this episode, man. But we'll get to Ian in a bit. So yeah, that's kind of the basic premise for this episode, and the reason. Okay, so back to the training thing that Kim and Matty are going through. The main reason that I said that this episode made me kind of dislike Matty is that he just was not taking it seriously at all at start. Like he, like I know like Kim kind of makes some comments of like, oh, is the only one size, and like that, I think that's the only comment she made. I don't remember. I know one of the two made a comment about the PPE being out of date, and I don't remember who that was. I have a feeling that it was Matty, but I'm not sure. Anyways. So yeah, Matty's just not taking it seriously. He's not like putting his PPE on properly, while like Kim is very much taking it like, other than the comment she said like, oh, is this the only size? She was taking it pretty much seriously. Like Kim, like she was very nervous in this episode, but that's what you expect from Kim. Like she's only just started. She's a very like nervous person. So yeah, she's a very nervous person. So yeah, she's very nervous. But yeah, Matty was just not taking it seriously at all. Like, he put on like the suit and he put on like a mask, but he didn't put on like the extra PPE that he had to put on like over his head. Like, he didn't put it on properly. So yeah, he didn't put it on properly. So yeah, that's why I disliked that's why I kind of disliked thinking Matty just was not taking the training seriously. So yeah. Basically this training protocol was like trying to train them into how to like kind of treat a contagious someone with a like contagious who probably has a contagious disease, like, you know, trying to train them into like what to do if they have like an extremely contagious disease such as like Ebola or whatever, or if they, you know, if it was like ground zero, like, you know, what they would probably do, like if they were like what they would probably do if they were dealing with like the first COVID patient or something, you know what I mean, or just like during the early stages of COVID, what they would probably have to do, you know. So yeah. Well, no, I think they like during if they were dealing with an Ebola patient, I think they were, yeah, I think it was like, I think they were talking about Ebola. The main reason I bring up Ebola and not just any other contagious disease is because basically, the person who was like their like fake patient, who, you know, the person who I said was I don't remember her name, but the person who like worked with contagious diseases, she like blood started like leaking out of her eyes and her nose, like just leaking out of her face. Don't worry, it was not Ebola, don't worry. It started leaking out of her face, and she like sneezed on Matty and he got blood all over his face, and it was like, oh shit. And then like they were like, oh, I don't know what to do, because like it was just those three in the room. Like at this point I think no one was really supervising them, because like the person who worked with contagious diseases was like kind of like the person that was supposed to be supervising them, but like obviously she was now like an actual patient. So anyways, because this was supposed to be a training scenario, they were like, oh fuck. So Matty tries and calls Flynn. He doesn't pick up the phone because he's dealing with like another patient, which is like, it's kind of understandable, but also like, you know, I think he was like I think Matty was like calling multiple times. If your phone's going off like multiple times, maybe pick it up and like maybe, you know, give the patient to Stevie. Maybe, you know, have Stevie carry on with the patient and then pick up your phone. The only reason actually that Flynn like had Stevie take over was because Flynn called the ED and was like, hey, can you get Dr. Byron in here? We've got, you know, she's bleeding out of her face. She could have a contagious disease. And then Cam, who I don't really talk about Cam because like he like doesn't really have like out of the newer episodes I've watched, which is like toward like last few episodes of Supply and Demand and like all the current episodes of Learning Curve. He's not really been a big like major character. But yeah, Cam comes in. But yeah, I think he's one of the nurses, I think. Him along and I haven't talked about Jodie either. Jodie kind of takes like has like a bit of a bigger role in this episode than she does in previous episodes, but like they're not really like the main characters compared to like Stevie, Flynn, Matty, Dylan, and Kim. But yeah, Cam comes into the room and he's like, hey, shit's going down. Flynn, can you, go help out Matty? So yeah, he goes to help them out, and Flynn is like not that calm about it. Like Flynn kind of, I feel like rightfully so, is like shouting at Matty, being like, hey, why the fuck aren't you taking this seriously? Like, you should have put your PPE on right in the first place, Like, I feel like maybe he was being a bit over dramatic with, like, he was like, the way he was shouting was a bit over the top, but like, him shouting at Matty was, I feel like, kind of justified, It was kind of justified because, like, he wasn't, he didn't put the PPE on properly. So, yeah. And then I think at this point, like, just after this, Dylan comes round and he's like, hey, what's going on? Or he's just, I think he says, like, oh, hey, what's going on? Or like, oh, hey, what's going on? Or he's like, I just heard the news about what's going on. So yeah, and then like Dylan takes over from Flynn, and Dylan is like much calmer than Flynn with interacting with like Matty and Kim. Probably because, again, spoilers, we just got confirmation, I think it was last week's episode or the week before. I watched like 3 episodes last week, just to catch up, so can't remember which episode that it was. That like Matty is like most likely like 99.9% certainty that Matty is like Dylan's son, right? So it's like, Dylan kind of has a soft spot for Matty, and like kind of understands like, hey, don't shout at Kim, she's like a very nervous person, like be stern with her, like how Stevie's doing, but don't like, don't be a Flynn, be a Stevie, like don't scream at her, be stern, but don't shout. That's the line with Kim, because again, she's a very like nervous person. She knows what she's doing. She's a very smart person, but she's also very nervous, and she's like kind of like scared to actually do stuff, but like she knows how to do it, and we kind of saw this with like, I think it was the episode like 3 weeks ago, I think, with where the grammar school collapsed, and like Kim was like helping out this student, and like she knew how to do the thing. Stevie just had to like be a bit stern with her and like push her a bit so she could actually like do it, So yeah. But yeah, Dylan was a lot calmer, kind of like helped them through it. So yeah, and I remember towards the end of the episode, where we got confirmation that like it wasn't Ebola. Basically, they ran tests and stuff, and it turns out it wasn't Ebola. It wasn't a contagious disease. Luckily, basically, because she works with contagious diseases. Again, I don't remember her name. But like the patient, because she works there with contagious diseases, she had been taking like antivirals, or what it's called, like antivirals, antiretroviral. She was taking like medication as like a preventative measure, which she probably shouldn't have done. Maybe, I don't know the science behind like antivirals or antiretrovirals. Wait, I don't know which one it is. Yeah, she was taking those as like a precaution, basically. And it was just like the bleeding out of her face was just like a major side effect, but like she was fine in the end. Don't worry, she was fine in the end. So like when she sneezed on Matty, it was just like regular germs, so like Matty didn't really have anything to really worry about. He just has to like wash his face. He just had to thoroughly wash his face. So yeah. But I remember towards the end of the episode when kind of like, I think it was like halfway through the episode, we had found out that like it was a side effect of the like antivirals and not Ebola. Flynn knew this. Flynn was like one of the first people to like get the test results back and be like, oh, it's fine. He didn't tell like Matty and Kim and that. He didn't tell Matty, Kim and Dylan that straight away. He decided to wait a bit as like punishment to Matty for not taking it seriously. And like, you know, not putting his PPE on properly. Which is just fucking stupid. Cause like it wasn't just a punishment for Matty, it was a punishment for Kim and Dylan as well, because she was stressing those two out. It was very explicitly like, oh, I'm just doing that. He was like very explicitly like being like, oh, I'm doing this to stress out Matty because he didn't put his PPE on correctly. But then you're stressing out Dylan and Kim because it's like, oh, you're stressing out these two because they're gonna be worried not only about the patient but also about their son and friend. Like, at this point, Flynn doesn't know that Matty is Dylan's son, right? The only other person that knows that Matty is Dylan's son is Stevie, right? But still, it's very stressful. And like, I don't know what the increased risk is, if there even is any, to like get a contagious disease when you are wearing expired PPE. But like, come on, you could have just told Dylan and like told Kim, or like tried to tell Kim or something. I don't know how they would have told Kim. But like, you could have just told them straight away and then just shouted at Matty again. You know, you could have just done that. Like, what? And towards the end of the episode, Dylan, I feel like kind of rightfully, just like shoves Flynn against the wall because like, what the fuck were you thinking? What was this guy thinking? Tried to stress out Matty in an already very stressful situation by delaying telling him the results, but also stressing out Dylan and Kim as well. Like, what? And apparently I haven't watched like all the like newer seasons box sets, because like they're doing it very different. They're doing Casualty like a bit differently since COVID. I stopped watching it before COVID, but basically they've split up their seasons into like different like sets. For example, Supply and Demand, and then we've got Learning Curves as well, in like I think like 10-15 episode like segments, instead of like, and like they're putting like 1.5 to 2 like sections, things like sets into one season. So series like season 40 I think we're on, we've got like the last few episodes of Supply and Demand, and then now Learning Curves. So yeah, but before COVID we didn't really have like, you know, different names for different sets for different storylines, you know. It was just because, you know, with Supply and Demand, that was the whole thing. That was the whole like storyline of like, what the fuck is going on with the morphine, who's been tampering in it. Someone's been tampering in it. Maybe it's Jacob. It wasn't Jacob, it was Sunny. I remember her name now. The pharmacist who was messing with it. And then now Learning Curves is kind of like the storyline of Matty and Kim being trained because they're 2 new residents. So yeah, but then we didn't really have that in before COVID. We might have, but I don't think we did. It was just like season 30 something, you know. It was just the season, not like, you know, different sets. So yeah, but yeah, and I think I think I started to. I don't remember if Dylan said something that made me like not like him as much. I don't remember. But yeah, this week's episode, last night's episode, just made me hate Flynn more and kind of dislike Matty. So, yeah. So yeah. Yeah. And I also felt really bad for Siobhan. I love Siobhan. I know Siobhan, my mum said that Siobhan's been in it. Oh yeah, and then there was another plot line as well in this episode. That was like in these episodes, by the way, casualty episodes are generally like 40 to 50 minutes, so there's usually like a lot in this episode, a lot that goes on in these episodes. But yeah, there's also another plot line. Oh yeah, I need to talk about Ian as well. I'll get on to Ian in a minute after we talk about the storyline with the paramedics. I did say on Thursday, I think, that I think did I say I can't remember if I said it on Thursday's stream or like last week's stream, or if I just said this to my mum. But basically, I think I said like, oh, I feel like the paramedics have taken kind of a backseat recently. Obviously, I've not watched too many episodes. I've only really started watching again on season 40. So yeah, but I felt like the paramedics were kind of taking a bit of a backseat because I felt like before COVID, when I stopped, in like 2018, 2019, that was when I was like watching it. I think I started watching it in 2017, so like from 2017 to 2019. So when I say before COVID, that's like the era. I mean the last, yeah. But yeah, I felt like the paramedics had like a bit of a more of a larger role in like each episode, rather than only having a But now I feel like they have like a much smaller role. But maybe that's just because at the start of Learning Curves they probably didn't have that much of a role, because they had like Ian and Jacob especially had like quite a large role in supply and demand. Because Jacob was the one initially suspected of tampering with the morphine, right? But this episode, I actually quite liked this episode, despite the fact that I hated Flynn and didn't like Matty in it. Just because of the actions, I think they were also decently written. It's just like I didn't like their actions. That's the thing. If I don't like the writing, I'll explicitly say I don't like the writing. But generally, when I'm talking about I hated this character in this episode, it's mainly because of their actions rather than how they were written. So yeah. But yeah, we had an actual like a bit of a storyline with the paramedics. They were kind of like they weren't a front and center, because like the main storyline was revolving around Matty, Flynn, Kim and Dylan. But they did have like towards the end of the episode, like in the last like 20 minutes of the episode, I think like the last 20 minutes of the episode, they had a storyline. And I just saw on my Twitch side note, suggested collabs can go. It's Kai20, who's also streaming Sci-Face, and then myself. Click to not to ask Poppy Nutella to collaborate. I'm going to collaborate myself, guys. Surprise, surprise. I'm so glad that the paramedics got like a bit of a spotlight towards the end of the episode. So yeah, but again, they probably didn't have as much of a role at the start of in the first few episodes of Learning Curve. We only have episode 5, but yeah, they didn't have probably a big role in the first few episodes of Learning Curves because they had a larger role in supply and demand, especially Jacob and Ian. We haven't gotten too many in Learning Curves. We haven't gotten too much. We've gotten a bit of stuff actually surrounding Jacob. I was gonna say we haven't gotten a lot surrounding Jacob recently, but that's probably because like Ian has been taking a bit more focus in terms of like all the paramedics that be in Indy, Ian, Jacob and Jan. Those are the 4 paramedics I can think of at the top of my head. Because Ian has been taking more focus, and actually in Learning Curves, I feel like Indy has been taking the least amount of focus. Like we had that scene in one of the past few episodes I think it was last week's episode, or the week before, where she got with Cam. But yeah, she hasn't actually, since I started watching Casualty again, she hasn't really had too much of a focus, so I don't know how to feel about her, but she's alright. But yeah. Basically, the paramedic storyline is that this little kid calls 999 and is like, hello, my dad's on the floor. Basically, his dad had a seizure, and it was on the floor. The kid didn't know what to do, so he called 999. Always teach your kids to call 999 or 911 or whatever the fuck the thing is. I won't say call 111 because 111 over here in England at least is the non-emergency number, I think. 999 is like the emergency number. Basically 111, if you call them and be like, hey, I have this issue, they'll more advise you to be like, hey, contact 999 or call your hospital to get an ambulance or just go to A&E. That's what they'll do. They're more of an advice in terms of, they more give out advice in terms of medical stuff rather than, I think rather than like, you know, I'll send an ambulance right away. So yeah, rather than actually contact. I don't know. But yeah, not 111 is emergency services. 111 is non-emergency line. 999 is the emergency line. So yeah, this kid. So yeah, always teach your kids to call 999 or 911. But yeah, this kid calls 999, being like, my dad's fallen to the ground and he won't wake up. And like Jan's the one who like takes the call. And she's like, okay. She's like, okay, and she says this in she's Welsh, so just imagine this in a strong Welsh accent, right? She's like, all right, can you tell if he's breathing? The kid's like, yeah, he's breathing. And like, okay, she asks like, oh, do you know the last name? Do you know your last name? The kid's like, I don't know. The kid says that I don't know a lot in this episode. So yeah, if you want to teach kids 999, teach kids important information as well, like full names and addresses mainly. So yeah, but luckily Jan manages to get a general area based off the like a phone's ping, like ping from the cell tower, and connects the kid to Ian. Basically, Ian and Jacob, they had been on like a prank call. They had been prank called by these kids, which comes around later in the episode. So they were on their way back to the hospital, but Jenna was like, "Hey, dad's collapsed, potentially having a seizure. Go check him out in this area." And they're like, "Okay." So Jan connects the kid up to Ian's phone. Ian's like, okay, what's the color of your house? What's the color of your door? Can you go to the window and see what's in your garden? Can you see me waving through your window? The kid's like, yes, my house is white with a white door. There's like plants and pebbles in my garden. And yeah, so they help the dad out. And luckily, and also teach your kids like basic like medical stuff if you have any medical issues. For example, in this episode, the dad is epileptic and I don't remember what medication he takes for his epilepsy, but I do remember Faith saying that he's allergic to penicillin, right? I remember it was like, what was the? I don't remember. It was like carboxycillin or something. I don't remember. I'm looking up epilepsy medication because I don't remember. Let me see. Epilepsy medication. Carbamazepine. That's That's what it's called. Oh, I don't even know how you pronounce that, but that's what it's called. That's what it's called. So yeah, that's the one I'm pretty sure that the dad was taken for his epilepsy. So yeah, but yeah, like I said, they just got prank called by the teenagers. So like towards the end of the episode, Jan and oh yeah, there's Teddy as well. I forgot about Teddy. Teddy's also one of the other paramedics. And Jan is driving Teddy's new girlfriend home, and the girlfriend is a police officer. And they run into the teenagers. And I think at this point, I think Jan might still be wearing her uniform, and like the teenagers mock her for it, being like, and like Jan is just like, "Hey, were you the guys that prank called 911, 999 even?" I think actually I heard somewhere a while ago that if you call 911 in the UK, it'll redirect you to 999. But yeah, and I don't remember her name. Police officer girlfriend is like, "Hello, I am DI blah 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 blah." And under the Telecommunications Act of 1984, it's illegal to. They're basically like, it's illegal to prank call 911. And like, she was like, "I'll let you off with the warning, but next time, you're gonna be under arrest." So yeah, I feel like though, I wouldn't really do. I feel like if they just laugh with a warning, they're gonna do it again. Like that. Do not underestimate British teenagers. And hello, Tombray. Hello. But do not underestimate British teenagers, because those teenagers would probably prank call 999 again. So yeah. So yeah. Speaking of the paramedics though in Casualty, how you doing, Tombray? By the way, how you doing? But yeah, speaking of the paramedics in Tombray. What? What the fuck? I just merged two sentences together. I'm glad. I need a drink. But speaking of the paramedics in Casualty, making projects on the server. Ooh, what are you making? I'm guessing you mean Chaoscraft. At least my final 3 projects. Okay. But yeah. Speaking of the paramedics though, Ian pissed me off at this episode. Basically, Ian's storyline over in Learning Curves of Casualty. Basically, him and his wife Faith are like going through a separation. They decided to like split. But then Faith finds out she's pregnant, and then she tells Ian. Ian's like, "Hey, maybe we should stay together," which is like, that's a bad idea. That's a fucking bad idea to stay together. Despite the fact that these two don't love each other no more. Ian does not love Faith anymore. And so like raise a child like that. Bad idea. Just bad idea. But then, we're talking about, by the way, I'm talking about a British medical drama called Casualty. I'm talking about this series called Casualty, and this week's episode made me pissed at like 3 characters. So yeah, I'm talking about this week's episode. So yeah, this episode made me so pissed at Ian, kind of at Matty, but like mostly at Flynn and Ian, right? Ian, he says he loves Faith right after she tells him she's pregnant, and then like the next episode, or like 2 episodes later, I binge watched 3 episodes like last week, so I don't remember which episode Faith tells Ian that she's pregnant in. But then, like, the episode after, like 2 episodes after, Ian's like, I'll go to the bar, get drunk. He goes to the bar, gets drunk, cheats on Faith, which is like, what? Oh, what? You tell Faith that you love her, and then you go and cheat on her. What? What makes it worse is that Faith is out looking for Ian. Like, Faith, she like goes over to Jacob's. Jacob is like the other paramedic. They kind of like Faith had kind of assumed that like Ian was over at Jacob's because they're like mates and stuff. And she's like, oh hey, is Ian in? And Jacob's like, no, I haven't seen him actually. And she's like, oh, all right. I just need to talk to him about some stuff. So yeah. and then Ian's out getting pissed and cheating on his wife in the bar. Like they're having sex in the bar, and it's like, just like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? So, yeah, exactly. Like, what the fuck? Like, this episode just made me pissed at, like, made me pissed about Ian, ironically, Flynn, and Matty, but less so on Matty, just because I hate Flynn more. Basically, Flynn and Matty were very involved in the like same storyline in this episode, but Flynn was just being more of a dick. Like, the only reason I kind of dislike Matty was because he didn't put his PPE on, his protective gear on. Like, he wasn't taking the training exercise seriously. That's why I kind of disliked him in this episode. But it's like Flynn more because of his reaction to Matty not putting his PPE on correctly. That's it. That's the only reason So yeah, I'm more pissed at Flynn than I am at Matty, because Flynn decided to take a super extreme approach to like punishing Matty. For some reason, he puts protective gear. He didn't put protective gear on correctly, and it was kind of like, listening while working. By the way, okay. But Matty didn't put his protective gear on correctly. Like, he was like very much just like messing about. He wasn't taking a training exercise seriously, and Flynn was just getting pissed at him and like shouting at him like, "Hey, take this fucking exercise seriously." And it's just like, calm down. Take it from like a 20 to like a 5. You know, take it down a notch. Take it down like quite a few notches. Okay, like, Flynn has major anger issues. So yeah, I really don't like that guy. I really don't like Flynn. I'm not a big fan of Flynn. So yeah, I don't like that guy. So yeah, not a big fan of Flynn at all. I know I've only recently got back into Casualty. For context, Casualty is like one of the longest running medical dramas. It's been going on since like the mid 80s, right? It's been going on for like 40 years. So yeah, I started watching it. I started watching Casualty initially in 2017. I stopped watching in like 2019, early 2020, right? And then I've only recently got back into it. So yeah. So yeah, I've only really got into it like season 40. I only got back into it season 40. But yeah, Flynn, he annoys me. Even though I've only watched like a few episodes, like probably the last I've only really watched like the last 10 episodes. Flynn annoys me. He's like my least favorite character. So yeah. But like, Flynn kind of gets his just desserts in this episode towards the end. Like, Dylan basically pushes him up against the wall and is just like, stop being a fucking dickhead, which is deserved. Mainly because like, I really like Dylan. Dylan's been in it for a while. He's been in it for like the past 15 years. So he was in it when I first started watching it. So yeah, I really like Dylan. I'm used to his character. I really like it. I really like him as a character. So yeah, okay. What should it? Okay. Moving on from casualty, I did not mean to spend like the last like 25 minutes, half an hour talking about casualty, but there we go. Okay, on Friday, I had my first like proper cyber psych class, and my lecturer kind of annoyed me because I'm looking forward to like being in this class, because it seems like very much up my alley, and like very much like I'm merging like two of my very like two of like emerging of my interests, like internet stuff, like gaming and stuff, and then psychology, right? It's like a mesh of those. So I'm really excited for this class, but my lecturer kind of annoyed me. Basically, his like, he kind of wants to do a lot of he wants to do a lot of like group discussions. He wants to like, his lectures are basically like big group discussions, right? And like he was kind of going around to every table, like asking them about stuff, and then he kept forgetting like the table I was working on, my table, like our table, like usually was like the last one he'd go to, but then he just never ended up asking us stuff, which was like, okay, ignore us. Basically on my table it was me, one of my friends, and then someone who has like the same dissertation supervisor as me. So yeah, so like I kind of already know her, and I've talked to her like a couple of times before. So yeah, and he just kept missing our table. And then the only time he didn't miss our table actually was when we were talking about like, different forms of like online communication, and he was going around to like every single person asking them about stuff. And I actually remember he asked like one person, and they said, oh, like Twitch, like chat messages on Twitch and stuff, and like live streaming. And he was like, oh, who uses Twitch? I think he was like, oh, who uses Twitch? I've never used it before. I think only two of us put our hand up. I put my hand up, and then one of my friends from like he was like sat on the opposite side of the room, put her hand up as well. A few other people might put their hands up, I'm not sure, but yeah, I know me and her put our hands up, so yeah. And then he asked like the three of us that were on our table. I said YouTube comments and like replies, and I don't remember what my friend and the other person on our table said. So yeah, but yeah, he just kept ignoring us, and then I think we got onto the topic of like the Online Safety Act and the ban in Australia for like in Australia how they've like banned social media for under 16s, and how like the government is kind of trying to propose that and how the UK government is trying to propose that for England. We kind of got talking about that, and I think someone brought up how someone brought up how they thought it was already a law banning like social media for under 14s, and like my lecturer said, oh, it's not a law, and then I said I thought it was already on. I don't think it's a law yet, but it's a law in Australia, but it's not being it's being proposed in England, but it's not a law yet in England. It's a law in Australia. But basically he said it's not a law. And then I chimed in saying something along the lines of, oh, it's not a law, but it's like some companies' policies banning like, or I think I was trying to think of like, how social media is like, you can't be on social media until you're like 13. I was thinking of that, or like, I don't know why, but I was thinking of Steam and how you can't be on, I don't know what I was thinking on Friday. But yeah, I think I was thinking that, but then he like, my lecturer just like ignored what I was saying, and I was like saying stuff loud enough to like, so like people could hear. I said it, and then he just like interrupted me as I was saying, oh, but it's some companies' policies. He interrupted me while I was saying that, and just continued on what he was saying, and just ignored me, and I was just like, fucking rude. Luckily there's 2 lecturers on this module, and I think we have the other lecturer next week who has taught me on like 2 of her modules, and she's really nice. So hopefully I've heard next week, because what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, come on, you can't have your lectures structured around a group discussion and then just ignore people. Like, ignore 3 people, ignore 1 whole table. Like, come on. And there's like supposed to be like 35 people in this class, so like, come on, you can't just ignore like 3 people in the corner. Like, come on. Come on. So yeah, this yeah. And then me and my friend, actually, like after lunch, we were doing some work in it. We were doing a bit of work, and one of my friends is like went on like one of the newer psychology courses, and they were saying, we were talking to them actually about this lecturer, and we said, oh yeah, he was just ignoring us and like interrupting people, and like they were like, oh yeah, he's like that. so yeah. So yeah, which is great. Which is so great. Like, come on, you can't structure your lectures around group discussions and then just ignore people's input. Like, and he was it wasn't just, oh, he ignored and interrupted us like once. Like, no, he ignored us more times than he actually acknowledged us. Like, he acknowledged us like once, like I said, when we were talking about like the forms of online communication. But then he completely like ignored and interrupted us. Like, he interrupted me the 1 time, but then he ignored us for like the rest, for like most of the session. He just like ignored us, and it was like a 3-hour lecture as well, which is like, oh, what? Yeah, what? This is gonna be a fun semester. I'm just gonna say that. And yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in a very complaining mood. So if he continues to ignore us and interrupt us, that is going in the module evaluation questionnaire. So yeah, and I'm probably gonna maybe complain to people, cause yeah, exactly, yeah. I've just been yapping for like an hour, but yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna play a bit of Sally Face.